Hi, everybody,
Morning.
and every mind, every person, and whatever other labels you like to put on it. Well, you all know what it's all about. You've been coming here for a while, and that's what they call in certain scriptures the absolute or the great perfection, or the presence awareness, or another label, intelligence energy,
Cognizing emptiness.
cognizing, and attention is another one. Now, that's all there is. It doesn't really need any of those labels, for the word is not the thing anyway. But anyone unaware right now? No. You realise you can't tell me what awareness is, but you can't say you are not aware. And if you like to call it attention, can you say, recognise your inattention? You say, I was inattentive. But where would you know that? How could you say it if it wasn't from the point of attention? So attention is always there. Just the same as awareness is always there. Different labels we put on it, different words, which discriminate it. And the Buddhists call it non-conceptual awareness. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. So it's that awareness without any concepts or labels on it. So how can you say you have lost it? And everything appears in it. That's why they say another label for it is attention. And if you are never unaware, because awareness is like the life essence. So you're always and ever that. And every so-called thing is that.
without a second.
Pardon?
One without a second.
Yeah. Everything is that one without a second non-dual. No matter what labels you put on it. Same as we call it mind. Is there such a thing as mind? If we claim the mind to belong to me, mine, is there such a thing as me? Or we all believing in this concept of me or I, which we took on board when we learnt words, when the capacity of reasoning was there to pick up words. And we believe this mind is this me. And what is me? It's a word or a label, a concept. And understand it as a concept, and then you must realise that mind is this me. And the mind is past. It's a conceptual image we have. Because can you live yesterday? You can't live yesterday. Can you live tomorrow? You can't. You can recall yesterday, but you can't actually live it again. And you can imagine tomorrow or the future. So that thing we call mind seems to be operating in the past or the future, and as the me, the separate entity, and it's all conceptual. Well, what are you? And you know innately you're not the mind. Because you say, my mind, my house, my car. You know you're not the house, the car, the coat, or the mind, or the me. But are you unaware right now? And realise again, this thing I call I am is this presence, awareness, or no, this immediate knowing. And knowing, putting the ing on, is not the past, it's not known, and it's not what will be known. It's what's happening right now. So you see, all this division is there. Everything is seemingly divided. But it's pointed out in the ancient texts and scriptures, it is only the one. The one essence patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing and expressing as everything. One without a second. Now I look into this room here and I see there's a lot of different patterns, shapes and forms. Appearing is separate, individual. What are they all appearing in? Isn't it basic space in which they're appearing in? And don't they call it space-like awareness? Awareness like the space. Now, can you grasp the space that you're sitting in? You can't. Can you tear it apart? Can you pinpoint a centre to it or a circumference to it? They call that a cognising emptiness, an emptiness with the capacity of cognising or knowing. It's a knowing emptiness. Isn't that a fact? Any so-called one of you who is not knowing right now, is not being right now? Can you negate that beingness? You can't say, I am not. The very fact of saying it implies there's something there that's able to say it. And there seems to be lots of individual or separate patterns, as I say, shapes and forms in the room. Now, is any one of them outside of space? Space is no thing. Can you find a beginning to space? Can you find a centre to it? A circumference or end to it? You can't. Can you pinpoint anything that can be outside of space? You can't. There's nothing outside of space. Everything that's appearing in it must be the space itself. Because something cannot come from no thing. And the space is no thing. It's not a vacuum, a void. It's a cognising emptiness. An emptiness with the capacity of reasoning or cognising. Isn't that so? Cognising there, the functioning that's happening there, the breathing, the heart beating, earth rolling around the sun, seasons coming and going, all taking place in that cognising emptiness in the space, space-like awareness. I've taken on the belief that I was separate when what we call the birth or the learning of words came upon this pattern. I can't remember the birth because I had no words. And I didn't know anything about beginning until I was about two and a half, when those words were picked up through this pattern, which is no thing but an appearance in that emptiness, a vibrating pattern. It's seemingly real. But with the learning of words comes the capacity of reasoning. How do you reason? Isn't it with words, concepts, ideas, or images? So when people like Nisargadatta tell you nothing can trouble you except your own imagination, they're breaking that word imagine down into imagine. mean mental images are coming up, and the energy going into them, the energy of belief goes into them because they've never been questioned. So that's what happens with us. We learn words and take ourselves to be the conceptual image we have of ourselves as a person, a word we've learned, and taking ourselves to be separate. We break up that body. What's that body made up of? Elements: air, earth, fire, water, space. Just like the elements, just like around you. Take the elements out of that body and see for yourself what it can be without the elements. And what are the elements? They're nothing but vibrations, activity, thought, feeling, emotion, all form into elements. Or before that, what the physicists call subatomic particles or whatever. Suffused with an intelligence or life. And basically that is all there is. That life is stillness. It's emptiness. The vibration or the movement comes into it and vibrates into different shapes, forms, patterns. But they're told, again, with people who recognise and understood, like Nisargadatta will tell you, there's only life. That is all there is. And he points out a bit further that life lives on life. For out of life, more life comes. And when that idea, when you learnt words and the idea of birth came on you with the learning of words, and you take yourself to be separate and apart from it, but wasn't the life there before you learnt the words? And isn't the life there still? Without the word, could there be any life at all? How many words does a corpse have? Yet before it rots, it's still got the heart, the brain, and all the organs are in it before they break down. But without that animating life, what we call life, or I call intelligence energy, not your intellects, which pick up this word and that word and believe in it, but the same intelligence that's breathing you, that is the life that's in you, beating your heart, growing your hair and fingernail, rolling the earth around the sun, causing the seasons to come and go. All the planets, the stars, and every seeming thing that appears, shapes and forms, is all that. Not separate at all, not individual, just as it is. So recognition comes upon me then that I can only be that. And that's not anything new either, because that's the great mantra that a lot of the traditions will tell you, that I am that. Pointing out you already are, that not say, I am the person, I am the body, I am the mind, saying it all as that. But it's discriminated by the person, the word, their thoughts and everything. When those words take on a meaning, but it's never been and never ever can be or will be anything other than that one life or one essence that's patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing as everything. With that recognition or realisation or whatever you like to call it, then how can I believe in the conceptual false images that I was taught to believe in? That you are this body, you are this mind, you are this person. And hearing that, believing it, and reinforcing it every day myself, there was the constant belief in it. And with that belief and fixating on it and taking it aboard, well, naturally, seeing all other seeming patterns, shapes and forms all around me, everywhere, and believing that I am a pattern, shape and form of body, mind, entity, well, then there's conflict. I'm in conflict with everything around me because I can't identify that as me or mine. And that brings about, there is a belief in other than this entity. And the belief in other brings about insecurity, separation, vulnerability. I get lost in the words. And plenty of other patterns, shapes and forms down through the ages, myriads and myriads have been lost in the words. But there's been some that the capacity of reasoning have been able to recognise there's got to be a little bit more to this than believing in this separate entity, this individual, that if it looks long enough and hard enough, it will become what it doesn't yet know or realise, but they put the label on God, or a higher power, or a greater power than me. Not realising again what those that are recognised and understood, there is only one. It's all the one essence that's patterning, shaping, forming as everything. The reasoning or the functioning is happening here, but it hasn't warmed up today. There's a struggle here to put it into words. But the seeing, the cognising is always and ever that. But trying to describe it, knowing full well that the description can never be described. The map can never be the territory. And when they say again that emptiness is form, and it is a cognising emptiness, well, I can see that and recognise that, so I don't take the form to be the reality anymore, when for years it was. And because of that belief there was lots of suffering, lots of unhappiness, sadness, fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, all different concepts, different labels. But letting it be, as I say, I've got to search for words today because I'm not very interested in it. I'm trying to describe something now, but it won't be its description. And knowing full well that though it appears to be so, there is no other. No other whatsoever. Though it might seem from here, as it's probably seeming from there, there is you, there is me, there is this, there is that. Full stop there and then. Everything is that. And you know, that's the chair, we put other labels on it. That's the carpet, that's the room, that's the space. That's you, that's me. But before we discriminate it with more words or labels, it is only that. And that Buddhist Dzogchen book, self-realization through seeing with naked awareness. That awareness that you are right now, without any concepts, it's not dressed up or adorned with any concepts, so it's naked. What is wrong with it? Without any concepts. Can you say it's good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, unhappy? You can't. But can you say it is not? Well, I can't. It is. But instead of discriminating the is into you, me, this, that and the other, it is the emptiness that is cognizing or knowing. And that cognizing or knowing, the ing on it, a vibration, a movement, we discriminate it with the word, which is a vibration also, into seemingly patterns, shapes and forms. And they point that out also, that it's a cognizing emptiness. We think we are cognizing the emptiness, but it's not. These patterns, shapes and forms are empty. We are the patterns and shapes and forms which express through. So it's the cognizing or the knowing, or the pure intelligence that's using these patterns, shapes and forms to express through. And you must be that cognizing emptiness. And they go on to say that emptiness is form. That is this cognizing emptiness, this patterning, shape and forming, all these things. So they're not going as separate things and isolated things. It's all in that cognizing emptiness, the no thingness. Emptiness is form, and the forms can be nothing other than the no thing. So this form of the mouthing these concepts or words, or seems to be, is only an empty form. That there's no thing. Doesn't matter whether I'm aware or unaware or attentive or inattentive, or put any mind or no mind, being or not being. Isn't it the way it functions or patterns in the interrelated opposites? And then I say, does it matter? Well, that's another label we put on things. We call it spirit and matter. And we all believe, or most of us, until you can recognise it, that there is such a thing as a spiritual path. a way we can reach this essence, which is the spirit, that hasn't mattered. Spirit is essence, life essence. Or like the scent of a flower, it's the essence of the flower. And matter is where it gels or it consolidates, or material becomes material. And appears so real. So in stabilising in that pure essence, the functioning has not stopped. There's breathing happening here like it was before, heart beating, hair and fingernails still growing, food being digested, thoughts arising, coming and going. Livingness is going on. But what happens when the life, so-called life, which is all that it is we call life, seems to stop patterning and functioning through that body? Before the body starts to rot, you'll see that the body is still there before it's breaking down. It starts to disintegrate as still as that sentience or life essence goes out of it. It starts to break down. But before it's breaking down, you realise the eyes are still there, the ears, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the brain, all these things there, which was that sentience or life essence was utilising. Just like we had a speaker in the room here, when the power was not going through it, it's not a bit of good. The same here. When that life essence is not going through that pattern that you call you or me, you're a corpse. Now where does that corpse go when it breaks down? Like anything else, can it go out of space? It breaks down into the space-like essence again. And can the same pattern come back again? It can't. So there's no such thing as reincarnation. Like when a drop of rain that came out of the ocean was condensed or by the force of the sun, the heat of the sun, goes up and cools down and condenses into a cloud, which breaks down into rain, and the rain runs into the ocean. Do you think you'll ever get the same drop back? You won't. But that H2O, two chemicals, hydrogen, oxygen, which are forming the body, the pattern, shapes and forms will renew and come back, but not as a particular person, separate entity or an individual, because it can not go out of space. And I say all those elements and everything else you can't separate from the space. Why? Because what circumference has space got? What are its borders? What centre has it got? Can you tear it apart? You're sitting in this space right now. Can it tear apart? You can't. So it is a no thing appearing as something. So something cannot come from no thing. But, as I say, it's appeared as these pattern shapes and forms, enabling to express in all the amazing ways they're doing, and all the innate intelligence that's pattern shapes and forms and becomes or vibrates through the mind and becomes real. So life, as we know it, is an amazing and wondrous thing. But we think we need to continue, so we're fearful of death, and we want to keep alive, not realising, though you don't know it, there never was a time when you were not, and there never will be a time when you will not be, because you look at that concept time and see that's a fiction also. There is no such thing as time. Time is what we call past and future. Well, if you think there's a past, try and go back and live yesterday or last week. You can't move away from this total spontaneous function that's going on right now, but you can think about a so-called seeming past. And unless you're recalling it, actually recalling it, and you don't know what your last thought was a few minutes ago, unless you recall it, because once it comes out spontaneously, it's gone. But we fixate on so-called past things and keep them there, because we take us to be fearful or anxious or unhappy or depressed. The same with the future. Can there be a future unless you think about it? Well, there can't be. And future is anticipation. We're anticipating or imagining something. And we've used that word imagining before, imaging in. So if there's no time, where does that leave you? In the so-called here and now, the presence, you're not unaware. And it's only the conceptual image that discriminates and take it seemingly away. Past and future, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative. All words that divide it. Could there be a past without a future? Could there be a present without past? Could there? Have a look and see. All the way the mind, the thinking happens is dualistically. It's a vibration. Call it one without a second, non-duality. And can there be duality without a non-duality? And can there be non-duality without duality? Can there be good and bad without the other? So it's all the same thing, which the concept of time takes place in, gives it some duration. Otherwise it couldn't vibrate in the opposite. Duration seems it's got time in it. When the thought now comes up, and we divide it into future and past, got some concept on it, when the actuality is this livingness, this beingness, right here and right now. Realise or recognise that it can't be seemingly one without the other. And so if it's all that no thing or no one, there is no other. So settle down in that, in the recognition. Doesn't mean to say that thoughts, feelings, emotions won't come up and things be reasoned and learnt and functioned. But have they ever moved away from that sentience, that life essence? As I say, without that, seemingly, which is absolute, which is a great perfection, nothing can be added to, nothing can be taken away. From the rest, all a big play of consciousness. A sport of Shiva, they put it in terms in some of the scriptures. Shiva and Shakti. Shiva the static, the so-called core or heart of the matter. Shakti dances. Shakti is the vibration of life. Shakti vibrates, dances, and the world appears. And how long does this world last if there's no time? Must be what we call spontaneous, a beginningless and endless. No static point, no good, no bad, no pleasant, no painful. No awareness, no unawareness.
Oops, sorry.
Just isn't it? Well, that'll do. What's wrong?
Nothing. It's all good, darling.
No, just
Ask us the water recording.
Beautiful. I have a couple of comments from online. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
We've got. There was, I don't know if I find it, there was a little conversation from Aldo from Sydney. He says he's very grateful for being able to watching us online while they're in lockdown. And Tanya responded, hopefully that will improve in Sydney. And Armana commented that the one that is locked down or not locked down is not who you are, or something like that, because they're all gone, those messages. And contact, connection, share is true love. Thank you, Bob and Kat. That's Bill. And Amelia from Paul. Hello, Bob. Hello, Kat. Missing you both dearly. Paul and I hope to see you again sometime soon. Dito, we do hope to see you soon too. And I see if I have another ones on the screenshots. Mm-hmm. That is it. Yes, so anyone would like to ask question or contribute or?
You better, because I'm RS.
He's RS. We don't think you're RS.
What is RS?
Rat shit.
Look, you can earn it. I'm not into it at all today.
Fair enough, fair enough.
You gotta, yeah, I gave him a hot chocolate Kool-Aid. That's a nice boost of the energy. A liquid breakfast with no sugar, just maple syrup.
Maybe it needed sugar.
Yeah.
Maple syrup is a form of sugar, it's just less processed. And we have Tanya. That was marvelous, Bob. Could you please point to how there is no cause and effect?
Well, what is cause and effect? It's so-called karma, isn't it? Now, can there be an effect without a cause? Or can there? So what would that mean? There can't be an effect without a cause. That the so-called idea of karma, cause and effect, is crap. And the belief is, as we know it now, is me. I like this, I don't like it. I feel for this. Me is the cause of all my psychological problems. And the effects are anxiety, stress, guilt, shame, remorse, pain, stress, all this are the effects of the cause, when it's seemingly divided by concepts. So if there can't be an effect without a cause, and the recognition that this cause, me, has no substance or no independent nature, it's just a conceptual idea that the energy of belief has gone into when we learnt words like I, and then added on to those words, I am Bob, the Australian, the good fella, or the unhappy fellow, or the sad fellow. All the concepts are added on that give it some seemly shape and form, some reality to the pattern. And that's what we're locked into. A thought up concept or idea that there is something here that is I, that is me. And so that's the base on which the effects can happen on. That's seemingly believed in reality, which is not real at all. And so when you're not dividing it into subject-object, leave it all as it is, and the so-called good and bad are the seemingly two ends of the one thing. But there's no, it's all the one essence, which hasn't got any ending to it, or beginning to it. So when you're seeing it as the totality, you're not dividing it up. Who's going to have, or believe in, or take on cause and effect? It's undivided, not separated.
Correct.
Thank you.
You pass.
Got something right at last.
100%.
Do you mind if I throw in a quote like that I've heard somewhere?
Yes, but just grab this one.
I mean, it's. I don't know. I just kind of liked the way it was put somewhere else. There's a guy named Alan Watts who said that karma is not so much about a who done it, but a you done it. That there's a you doing it. You know what I mean? That it's. I don't know. The way I'm kind of taking what you're saying about the karma and all that. There's no karma because there's no you.
That's right.
Right? So if there's a you in your head, there's karma. You know what I mean? There's karma in your head only. You know what I mean? But there appears to be. But there really isn't because there's no you.
That's right. That's right.
Wait, Bob. Wait, Bob. Can you wait? Here.
There appears to be day and night, winter, summer. Wet and dry. All appears. Dualistically, when we divide the words. See, it's all the one essence, patterning, shaping, and form. Well, you need to put labels on anything if it's just as it is.
Yes, I have another comment from online. Sorry, darling. Sorry, baby. That's from Michael. Hi, Bob and Kat. Why does Shakti dance? Why not just rest in eternal peace? Or can eternal peace be found in the dance? And if so, how?
Well, eternal peace is the dance itself. Like when you say, it's breathing air. What's breathing it? It's beating your heart. It is the life itself that's seemingly vibrating when, is there such a thing as a movement? It's seemingly so. It's that movement is the same energy, like just a wave will form on the ocean. That's a vibration, a movement of energy. It forms a wave. But is the wave anything other than the water? Has it ever been anything other than the water? So it's still the ocean. Though it appears to be in waves, ripples and all sorts of other things, it's still the ocean. And even though the body, mind, thoughts, feelings, pain, pleasure, all these things, is it anything other than life?
No.
And another word for life is energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why Shakti dances? There could have been nothing. There could have been no appearance. Why is that eternal creative force or intelligence expressing as the eons, patterns, form, shapes, colors, light, sounds?
Because in its unicity it can't know it.
Who wants to know? And again, going back to the ocean, does the ocean know there's going to be a bit of air blowing around or something and form a ripple? Or does it just spontaneously happen? You're saying, the life in that body now, you're saying, I've got to take my next breath, I've got to beat my heart, got to digest my food. No, it's all spontaneously happening. And what can you attribute that to? Well, you can only say it's life. I can't attribute it to anything, which is a vibration, a movement of energy, which they call Hindu Shakti, which is just a vibrating pattern of energy. I use the term intelligence energy, and I'm not talking about your intellect, I'm talking about intelligence. I'm talking about what's out there in nature, the same intelligence that's functioning in this universe, forming all the patterns in it, the stars, the planets, the seasons, the tides, everything is a vibrating pattern of energy or a movement, or somewhat of a movement. That's what they say. It's only a somewhat of a movement, a spontaneous pulse, throb, or they call it spander and a lot of things. Seemingly vibrates. As I say, Shakti dances, the world appears. Everything comes from that. And there's no one doing that. It's a totality.
That's a good aspect you actually brought in, because Jane was just saying that it can't know itself in any other way, in its unicity. But the question would be, why would it want to know itself? Why not just rest in peace? But you covered it as beautifully when you say who wants to know, because that brings up the idea, who would prefer the eternal peace rather than the dance? That brings up the aspect that, okay, there is someone there who has a judgment about that beautiful dance. Even if that, the judgment or the peace, preference for one or the other.
And
Yes,
that's another way you can recognise it too. Who wants to become realised?
yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Julia's version. Who gives a shit?
There's no difference if you give a shit.
And the reasoning, like the
Sorry.
Mentioned to you long periods of utter silence and no thought, but there is still, if I'm driving in that space and someone blows their car horn at me, there is still a pinch, there is still the sense of a localised Richard. Being periods without the feral monkey mind yabbering away, just in stillness, I'm not free of the sense of locality.
There's no need to be free of the sense of locality. You wouldn't know that anything at all. So it seems to be local, but it's still, the basis of it is still that attention. Because you might, when you're knocked into that place, you might think you're inattentive. But you can only recognise your inattention from attention. So if you think you're locked in being inattentive, and you see when there, but you must, but to come back, you've got to recognise that you were attentive. That's like I say, resistance. You can only recognise your resistance from a point of non-resistance. You can only repair attention, recognise attention from the point of inattention, or the other way around. That's what the pairs of opposites are there for. Finding out it's just the same thing appearing as two. So you're never away from that, whether it's seemingly attentive or inattentive.
So I guess you could say that the duality is not the enemy. You know, it's appearing upon that presence that you are. It's appearing upon that place you never left. So it's not the enemy, it just is. And it's always going to be working in the pairs of opposites, that duality which appears upon that presence that you are. So the minute you recognise your inattention, resting. Inattention, resting.
You are the source of attention.
That's Krishnamurti explains that in awareness, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That thing on the
Oh, yeah.
Say that again?
Krishnamurti explains that in the chapter on awareness in the Penguin Reader.
There's copies of it on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone can grab a copy when you walk out.
He says that. Bring one over and read the last one.
I love that.
At the end of it, he's been talking about awareness. He goes on to, and the fellow that's asking the question says, "My God, this is too difficult. You are saying things that seem true, that sound true, but I'm not there yet. Can you put it differently? Can you push me out of my trap?" Krishnamurti, nobody can push you out of your trap. No guru, no drug, no mantra, nobody, including myself. Nobody, especially myself. All you have to do is to be aware from beginning to end and not become inattentive in the middle. This new quality of awareness is attention. And in this attention there is no frontier made by the me. This attention is the highest form of virtue. Therefore it is love. It is supreme intelligence. And there cannot be attention if you are not sensitive to the structure and nature of these man-made traps. So he says this attention is the highest form of virtue. That is, therefore, it is love.
Yeah.
Now, isn't love God?
Yeah.
And isn't God love?
Yeah.
It is supreme intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
the activity of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And there cannot be... And there cannot be attention if you are not sensitive to the structure and nature of these man-made traps. That's thinking.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love that chapter on awareness. We used to read it every day for a year, every Monday morning. had so much coffee, we were nearly bursting with caffeine-ness. Yeah, but and it took so long to truly cognise that it got there. Got there.
He describes it beautifully. Years ago, I had it printed out and handed it around in the early 80s, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it's so clear.
You read it, Tess?
Huh?
You have read it?
He printed out for
I
you.
printed them out for you.
That's right.
But I didn't read it.
Well, there you go.
Now,
Why?
Why is a crooked letter?
It's also one syllable.
can you say what was that? Please, can you list what that chapter was to look up?
It's the chapter on awareness in the Penguin Reader by Krishnamurti. It's the chapter on awareness in the second Penguin Reader by Krishnamurti.
Okay. And we have some.
That's just this.
Yeah, I'll just drop the thing on the locality or location. When you think of any animal in the nature, they also have the sense of location. It's always associated with the body. Even if you think of artificial intelligence, like a computer, it has the camera which points particular way. It is associated with the computer. But are you the computer? Are you the body? Are you the animal body? Or you the life? Like the power or the electricity experience itself through the computer, through the camera, having particular reports on the senses. If it doesn't get the computer, it doesn't get the pictures, it doesn't get the sounds. So it needs the computer to get the speaker, to get the camera, to get the vision, to get the sound. That's how the electricity kind of experience the dance of Shakti. And it is always located. But you are not the body with the sense of location. You are the life that uses the senses to have the echo or the reflection of its own infinite capacities. So that life, like pure electricity, can blow the bulb or can do whatever, just like if you imagine the thunderstorm or whatever. So the pure life now, it builds or gives itself that transformer through which if you have too little of the energy, you kind of catatonic. If you have too much of the energy, you get the serotonin shock and you die. But the right amount of energy of that life essence transmitted through that transmitter-receiver thing, the machinery thing, breaks the energy into the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, thinking. So suddenly that energy gets, like the electricity can be used for whatever reason, that same life essence is broken into that different aspects of the appearance, but they're all part of the dream. You are the dream ink, the substratum of it. But the only way for you to know yourself is to see the reflection of yourself broken down. Like the electricity cannot know itself, but it can know itself as a heat or as a light or as the picture, as the sound. But this is not a pure electricity, but it is the expression of it. So that's why and how the location, it will always be there, is needed. But also, if you really look deeper, is it really there? Because the senses are associated with the mind. This is what Mukti was saying, that when you have the why question, the why question takes you out from this infinite, limitless being of the heart into the mind, which starts coming up with the explanations. So the being really in the heart, there is no world. But then you go to the mind, and every perception is translated by the mind. And now suddenly we have the world coming up into existence. And with thinking, the world, not only the senses brings up the space, the thinking brings up the time, and everything gets that story-like quality. But this is the mind. The moment you drop the mind, ignore the mind, or overlook the mind, in the heart there is just this eternal present moment which does not have location. The only location of the heart's sort of essence is here. But here doesn't have the geographical digits sort of phi and lambda GPS location. Or even relative location to the walls or anything. You need the mind to translate the sensory inputs to create that storyline image, the Shakti dance sort of the world. And that's a blessing. That's not something that you want to let go of. This is a joy. The life is to be appreciated and loved. And you want a disappearance of the universe? Any moment. Just close your eyes, the universe is gone. Focus on ignoring the sensory inputs and just the plain blissfulness of being, and the world is gone. It only exists when you think about it. You have to think it into existence. So you can disappear the universe and experience, taste the pure, that deliciousness of being any moment you overlook the mind. And it's not you doing it, of course. It's not that there is a procedure for which the entity is going to achieve it or do it. No, it's just, it is available for the resonance, you know? When Bob is actually, the whole spiel is pointing back to that moment of bringing back the attention to the source of attention, or being aware of the movement of attention, or being aware of the awareness. That very awareness, that consciousness, or that Sat Chitananda is always there. It's never away. It's but if the world appears, love it.
Okay, well that's very helpful. Thanks, Kat. But there's another thing I'm finding, the other side of the mind, is that the searchlight of awareness is not constant. It varies in intensity. It's like I practice open sitting or open being for an hour to 2 hours a day, and when that session is ended, I'll go about my day in no mind chatter, the exact space I was in during the open sitting. But I find both in the open sitting and in walking around that I used to think, I had thought that the feral monkey mind was the fly in the ointment. Well, there's two flies in the ointment. The other is the variability of awareness.
Can you comment on that, darling? Oh, no. Okay, I'll just. Yes, that's a beautiful observation. Like everything, totally everything in the whole appearance, nothing stands still. Everything is constantly transient. So your hearing is not constant either. It is going up and down, and it depends on absolutely everything. The movement of attention, the steadiness of the attention. Like now we have epidemic or pandemic of ADHD. Everyone is watching TV, trained by the advertisement, moving very fast to keep the attention steady only for a couple of seconds and then quickly for, that's how we are conditioned. That's how the artificial intelligence developed itself to grab everything. Is a competition for attention. So it grabs attention and it holds attention using fear, using survival instinct. So attention is kind of responding to the environment. And every attention, your attention will also vary depending on your diet, on the amount of sleep at night. Like the whole universe is in communion or communication with that life essence expressing through that transmitter receiver. And the environment is, the body and the environment, they're really one. So they're just kind of dancing. And yeah, it's a good observation to have, to see how your attention is moving. On some things it sticks, with some others it slips, or something is attracted to something, it is repelled. Sometimes it's sharp, sometimes it's dull. Yeah, it's.
I must say, it's fun to. It's fun to discuss these things.
Yeah.
Previously, I would never have noticed. But now that I don't have the chatter much of the time, I'm noticing other things.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And that's also what one of Bob's main pointers is: watch the mind, see how it operates. Because if you really see how the mind works, and the attention is the working of the mind, because that's again the sensory information interpreted into creation of the world as we know it. And when you see how it comes into existence, you will actually really be amazed, like getting to know the whole machinery and seeing how mind operates. It operates more or less, it's almost like a software. It operates more or less in the same way in everyone, although the attention, of course, will be attracted to different things. People have different food preferences or music preferences or behavior patterns. But really, it is kind of like a frequency-based thing, which is just following where it is attracted. And it stays there, and it sleeps over, and it moves elsewhere. And, and the same with thinking, the same with perception, the same with hearing, seeing, acting, behaving.
But the awareness never changes, because you are that awareness. So it's where the action figure places the attention in the moment spontaneously, but that awareness that you are, or love, or pure intelligence, energy, or truth, or whatever you want to call it, is constant. It's like that thing of Paul Hedderman's, you know, the content and the context. And the context is never changes. The content constantly changes. Or you're the railway station and the trains are always moving, you know, or sometimes they're not. You know, like you say, you have periods of no thought, you know, but then something will grab the attention and the action figure will act. That's how I see it, by watching, you know. And I lately I've been seeing how actions happen, and then, as Kat had pointed out recently, action happens and then the thought comes in to translate it or narrate it, you know. Like today, just a very simple thing, I dropped the end of my lipstick thing, and the thought came up, well, how am I going to get that? And then the body just acted without any thought, got my hairbrush, got the little thing from underneath the cabinet and pulled it out, and I went, thank you. I went, thank you. I went, thank you. So that's happening more and more here, is that attention to the action figure acting.
Yes, I must say that is fascinating to see, just to see the body response, which Richard nothing to do with.
No, that's right. And yet the narrator is always going, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? What am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I know I'm not that, so it can say whatever it likes, and then the action happens, and I think, intelligence, energy is so clever. It just does it. The narration is not necessary, you know, and I'm seeing that more and more, you know, and it's just amusing. It's an amusement to see how it actually operates, and that's happening more and more. Sorry.
I noticed similar things.
Sorry.
You know, that thought the other day, I found one slipper and I had thought, I wonder where the other one is, and I just body went in, opened the cupboard, I put my hand out, and I had the slipper in my hand. And so the idea that the mind is what makes sense of the dualistic environment, I don't experience that. So that this intelligence awareness doesn't need a thought in order to respond. So you can be walking along and then look up and at the same time be moving my head and avoiding a branch that I didn't even see, not with these eyes. Anyway.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
That's
Bob wanted to say something.
what Nisargadatta says.
Wait, darling, wait, please.
Like Nisargadatta says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You walk down the street, but you don't bump it, without thinking, you don't bump into everybody. And everybody will move out of your way, you move out of everybody. Spontaneous. You might be talking to somebody together. Somebody come. Just the same as I'm speaking right now. There's cars going by there. Be a motorbike or something else, you can identify it without putting the name on it. You know what it is. Pure awareness.
There's a biographical sort of series of volumes about Papaji's life, and in one of the stories in there, he was a manager at a mining company, and he was exhausted at the end of a number of days of work out in the sort of wild and so on, and he got in his car. He had to drive over the hill and down over to some other town, home or somewhere, and he got there and there was no him driving the car. There was no, body went to sleep, but awareness took care of it.
Julia.
Julia.
The circumstances surrounding this life of this action figure has been kind of complex. You know, I'm in over my head, which might be a good thing. If we could get the head out, right, of it, maybe the decisions I'm thinking will come up with a little bit more wisdom than they might the more I put my head in, because I absolutely don't know what. It's like, I feel like I've been thrown in the deep end of a swimming pool and I don't know how to swim, right? I also know that if I flail about, that's increased the likelihood that I'm going to drown, but if I learn to just float, then if I just stay and float and just stop trying to do, and then allow whatever shows up to show up, you know, get the me out of the way, you know, the I have to do this, I have to know what to do, and I think to the degree that I'm able to get that me out of the picture or whatever, that has to be the decider to know what to do, the decisions that'll come up are going to be more supportive in the outcome that the action figure would prefer. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but...
Wait.
Behave.
That's all that needs to happen. Julie was saying, get the me out. But they won't recognise there never was a me in the first place.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's nothing to get out of the road.
And there's nothing to allow anything. It's just spontaneous.
That energy is not, you know, which is struggling with itself like that, trying to find a me to get out of the road. Going to leave the free flow of life to just function as it is.
And the right decisions will come.
The right decisions will come.
I hope so.
As they come. Well, you don't have to hope.
And they come from nowhere.
You want to say it out loud? No? Okay.
I just wanted to say that if I become very, very rich financially, mentally, spiritually, whatever, every Sunday I come here. And not only come here, sit at the destiny of your attention, because you are the source and destiny of the attention and everything. I have nothing for you but paying attention and respect with emphasis. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of comments. Oh, you want to say something? Go on.
Well, when I'm walking down the street, I expect people to get out of my way. My surname is King.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They don't know it.
They're avoiding you, Richard. Trust me.
But not always.
I have a couple of comments from online. If we have sound, I don't know. Every time we move the mic, the sound is gone. So there is a couple of comments from online, and this is Atul saying that awareness is aware of the movement of the consciousness. And I think he was, it is gone now, but he was also saying that Muji says that there's, you are more here than you. I mean here around the location thing. And now Amarnath, mind, watchman, abscons, water is, notion, division of duality, loss. Stillness watching the pattern, two ends of the same stick, found by watching. And Julia, somehow when mind is out of the way, life flows better. GK is saying that the mind, they can barely hear you even with the mic on your collar, unfortunately. It's not the mic, it's Bob, he has the hearing aid, so he whispers. Sorry for that. He said the spiel without it, so that was a big sacrifice in a way. And Michael, because the emperor has no clothes, long live the king.
Leave your clothes on with you.
Yeah. Leave your clothes. Yeah, well, every time we move it around the room, it just disconnects. That's, and the amplifying system, then it would amplify only Bob anyway. Yeah.
I've got to get Bob one of those battery operated
Yeah,
mics.
we had it yesterday.
No.
It just didn't work today. Last week it did.
Oh no, I mean one like a singer uses on stage
That
when
you
there's
put
no.
on.
No, you just hold the microphone and it's got the battery in it.
Yeah, if you would watch
No
the
cords.
last week, you would see that he had the little thing hooked in here.
Oh yeah. No, I mean a handheld microphone.
We've done it a few times. He wouldn't hold it.
Oh.
He would put it on his lap.
He's a rebel.
I've only got one problem. I breathe.
I'm really grateful for that problem.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes.
It's actually a solution, it's not a problem.
But breathing is the secret of immortality, Bob. Keep breathing, that's it.
Yeah. So I think we had one more comment. This was from Tanya. Thank you for the meeting today. So grateful for this. Lots of beautiful clarity. Thank you for answering my question on cause and effect. No worries about the sound. Just turn volume on your device. And Atul, nothing needs to be changed just being. Being is always perfect on its own. S without mic, clear now. Without mind, awareness is clear. Yeah, and then the thank you messages are coming. So, thank you everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you.
Yeah.
Love you.